All right. Let's get this party started. Make sure everything's working. It looks like it is. Awesome. Cool. Let me get this really quickly. All right, cool. Well, we'll just wait a couple minutes and we'll get started. We'll let everybody get joined in. Let me make sure this is working properly. If you guys have any specific questions about Facebook ads, feel free to drop those questions whenever. Honestly, it's ideal because then we may be able to get into it a little bit more in depth. So if you're running your own Facebook ads and you're having issues or you have questions, concerns, why isn't something working, feel free to drop that in the comment whenever, because then we can address it live. Can you guys hear me okay? I want to make sure that all of my audio, if somebody can just let me know if you guys can hear me, that would be awesome. Cool. Hey, what's up, Carlos? I'm glad to see you here. The whole point of me doing this, as most of you guys know, I run a pressure washing marketing agency, and we do this. What's up, Mark? Um, Mark's here, and we run his Facebook. Or wait, no, we run your Google ads, right? Yeah, we just do your SEO and your Google ads. Anyways, the whole point of me doing this is I know that it's not realistic to think that every company can hire somebody to do their own Facebook ads. And so with that being said, I wanted to put this training or strategy out there for those people out there that can't necessarily afford to have somebody do it. Because at the end of the day, I'm sure that all of you have tried boosting posts or you've tried running your own Facebook ads, and it's burning a lot of money, and I hate to see people spend money and it not work out. What's up, Benjamin? What's up, Steven? So anyways, that was the whole premise of this training, or this strategy rather, was to kind of put this information out. As you can see on the screen, this is an older graphic that I had made a while ago, but basically, this is kind of the strategy that I like to try and use. Now, one of the things that I want to say about Facebook ads is there is not one strategy or one simple thing that like always works without a hitch. And what I mean by that is, I probably set up 10 different pressure washing Facebook ad accounts a month, and this is usually the strategy that I try to start with if I can, but honestly, a lot of the times we have to deviate from this strategy. And the reason we have to deviate from the strategy is because it doesn't always work in every market, and it doesn't always work for every Facebook business. So it's important to note. So this is super important if you're taking notes through any of this, that the strategy that I'm going to show you guys this evening is not an end-all be-all, meaning that if you put this into motion, it's going to deliver you $10 leads. It may happen, it may come cheaper, it could come more expensive. The theme of running a successful Facebook ad campaign is to test everything. And we're going to kind of get into that here, but testing everything from the images, from your videos, from your ad copies to your audiences. And that's why, just setting up, I've had people ask me this all the time. Hey, Sean, can you come and just set up my ads and then I'll manage it from there? The problem is that you always are still trying to test those variables. So even if, we launch a campaign and in 2 weeks we're getting leads for $22, we're still going to test different creatives, which are images or videos. We're still going to test different ad copies. So you're always going to want to test certain things to get the best result. Would you consider Facebook a better place to hunt or farm for leads? Absolutely not. So this is... So before I answer this question, if you guys could share this in any pressure washing group, it would super help this out, because I really want to get this in the eyes of more people. But to answer your question, no, I don't think that Facebook is the best place to get pressure washing leads. But it can be the best for certain businesses. And what I mean by that is Facebook is interruptive advertising, meaning that you're serving your ads to people who may not, and highly probable that they don't want to see your ads, right? They're scrolling, they're consuming pictures of their family, funny cat videos, whatever the case may be, and then, oh, here comes this pressure washing ad. And so the problem with that is, as most of you guys know if you've ever ran your own Facebook ads, is that you get a lot lower intent of a lead. Meaning, if your ad is a before and after of a house wash, somebody's going to click on that and they may just kind of be tire kicking and think that you're going to come out and do it for $100, right? Their intent is very low. They just happen to come across your ad. So to hone in on that question, I believe that Google Ads is better than Facebook ads when it comes to digital advertising. But with that said, there's a caveat. One, Google Ads is significantly harder to run yourself without working with somebody. Two, it takes a really good website in order to convert the Google ad traffic. And so what I mean by that is, Google Ads is always going to be better than Facebook ads from a standpoint of somebody went there looking for your service. They had to go into Google. They had to type pressure washing company near me, house washing company in Cincinnati, Ohio, whatever the case may be, because they're looking right now to get a quote. And that's not what you're going to get on Facebook. But Google ads are a little bit harder, and you have to have a really good website. And so what that means is that usually you're going to be a slightly higher caliber of company. So Facebook ads isn't for everyone. And obviously, if you're doing 10, 15, 20 jobs a week, this training and strategy probably isn't applicable for you. This is more for the people who aren't getting that many jobs and want to try and run their own Facebook ads because they can't afford to have somebody else do it for them, and they can't do some of the better lead generation methods like Google Ads and SEO and all that good stuff. Exactly. I personally feel it's a better place to farm for leads. I'm not a marketing man, though. So, Facebook ads can absolutely work. We've got a lot of clients that it does work for, but there are certain things you have to do really well. And I'm going to say a couple of these things a million times throughout this video because I really want people to understand this. And I tell all of my clients this every single time when we launch their Facebook ad campaign, is when you're running Facebook ads specifically for messages, there's two things that you want to do to maximize your close rate. And the first is never give prices over Messenger, ever. You're going to hear me say this 400 times tonight. Never give your prices over Messenger, and try to get the lead on the phone as fast as possible. And the reason that you want to do these two things, the first one, the reason that you never want to give prices over Messenger or text or email or just shoot them an estimate, is because, as most of you guys are already well aware, homeowners have this preconceived notion that pressure washing should be significantly cheaper than it actually is. Now, some people, some of your guys' companies, you have a large enough brand that it can command those prices without there being an objection. Most of you, that's not the case. And so what happens is if you engage in a back and forth dialogue on Facebook Messenger from a Facebook ad and you pull up their address and shoot them an estimate, they're going to see that price and they're never going to message you again, and you never have the opportunity to overcome that objection. Now, a lot of people would say that then maybe they're not my type of customer, and maybe they're not, but again, if you're running your own Facebook ads, it's probably because you're not at the caliber to pay a company, so every lead really matters. So yes, I would highly suggest getting them on the phone, which was the second tip, because if you go in that back and forth messenger, you're not going to be able to build value in yourself, your company, and why your price is what the price is. My ROI is way higher for Facebook ads than Google always, and that's like totally the thing. What's up, Jaden? And that can totally be the case, and that's why doing all of this testing is super important, because I can't tell you how many clients we run both Google ads and Facebook ads for, and then a month to 2 months later, we double down on one side or the other because they may not work for a specific market. Because even though I probably have $2 million in Facebook ad spend, there are still times where the Facebook ads don't perform, and the same thing's true on Google ads. And not to get off on a tangent because we're here about Facebook ads, this is important because I believe that every method of marketing is applicable to try and test once. And that includes Angie's Leads, Thumbtack, yard signs, everything. Try a little bit of everything and double down on what works. I hate the Business Suite app Messenger. I really hate it too. It really lags when it comes to getting messages. Absolutely. I super, super hate everything that Facebook's been doing with all the changes, and you have to change profiles and all that stuff. But anyways, we can kind of just get right into this. Like I said, guys, if you have any specific questions as we're going through this, let me know, because then we can address it and maybe dive into it a little bit deeper. So don't feel like you have to hold them for the end. So jumping into the strategy that I'm going to teach you guys today, again, just to beat a dead horse here, this is not an end-all be-all strategy. This is my favorite strategy to use, but it's not the strategy that we use 100% of the time. Usually we will launch when we run a Facebook ad campaign for a client, we will launch with this strategy. And then if it doesn't work, there are other strategies that we can use, but this one has the highest success method. So this is why I prefer to use this one. What would you consider an appropriate amount to spend monthly on Facebook ads? So we're going to get into that. It's going to vary on your strategy. This particular strategy requires right around $30 to $40 a day to be applicable. And so I'm actually going to get ready to get into that here in a second. So this strategy, it works off a two-step method. So the first step is you are going to be serving a short 30 to 60 second long video to a broad demographic inside of your service area. And you're going to let that run for a few days and accumulate a bunch of views. And what the whole objective here is if you look at the second point here, let me see if I can hover over it. The second point here is we're going to make an audience of people who have watched this video. And this is important because sometimes if you just make one ad and you think that you have the targeting right by setting things like home improvement, home repairs, things like that, you may completely miss a demographic of people who would like to see your ad. So by using a video and serving it to a lot of people who may or may not be in your who may not be your customer, what you're going to do is in the second step, we're going to create an audience of people who watched a large portion of that video, because more often than not, the people who are going to watch a large portion of your video are somewhat interested in the services that you provide. And then we retarget those people, right? So we serve them a video. They watched, 10, 15, 20 seconds of that video. So they have some general interest. They're not just some teenager, because he likely wouldn't be watching, 20 seconds of a pressure washing video. And then we serve them some follow-up ads. I jumped the gun a bit, but look forward to learning. Awesome. I'm super glad. Give me just a second, guys. I want to share this if I can figure out how to do so. Copy link. I want to share it in a couple of other groups really quickly, because I want to make sure that we can get this out to as many people as possible. Sorry guys, I should have been a little bit more prepared. There's one. This is why I wanted to do this late at night. I did one of these trainings not too long ago, and I did it in like the middle of the day, and nobody was watching it. And I was like, oh, it's probably because people don't sit at a desk all day long like I do. They're probably out washing. All right, cool. All right, so that's posted. So, all right, so jumping into this. So obviously this is the strategy, right? We want to take a 30, 60 second long video. We want to use general targeting. We want to accumulate a lot of views, which I'm going to get into. Once we have that video, we're going to let that run for a very long time. Never turn it off. Just let it run and always accumulate those views. Then we're going to create two audiences, which I'm going to show you how to do. We're going to create a group of people who have seen the video, and we're going to create a group of people who look like the people who have seen our video, and then we are going to serve them a bunch more ads. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. If it does, we're going to jump into this next part, which is in the Business Manager. So hopefully by now, if you've ran your own Facebook ads, you're doing this through the Business Manager, you're not boosting a post. This is the best way to run Facebook ads. You can control a lot more, you can see a lot more. It's just the preferred method. Now, if you guys have used the Business Manager before, you'll notice that they've probably made some changes. I have a campaign here that a good friend of mine, I was helping him with it, and so I decided to kind of use this as our point of example as we're kind of getting into this. But basically, starting off at the very top here, the very first thing you obviously want to do is we want to create this video ad that we're going to serve to a lot of people. So we're going to use engagement because this is good for video views. Remember, we're optimizing this for video views. We're likely not going to get any leads. We're not going to get any messages by using this particular ad. The whole goal is to get video views that we will retarget in a few days. All right. So we'll choose engagement. And I like to name my campaigns here, so I would name this, in this case, 3-1. And we'll probably do video views of soft washing, and then I like to put the date in here. This is just, this doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want here. And then this is going to be, we're going to use broad targeting, and then we're going to do, let me see here, video 1. Ad copy 1. which I want to make a note about that too, guys. So that's the other thing that's super important when you're running Facebook ads is your ad copy. If you've ever ran your own ads in the past, you may have had everything right, but your ad copy could have been wrong. And so I saved this link. When I first got started in this business, this is the people that I used to use to produce my ad copy. I highly suggest that you go to Fiverr or you find somebody that can produce pretty decent ad copy. Here, I'll drop the link in the comments. Your ad copy is so critically important that if you get it wrong, people just won't click and interact with your ad. It is that important. And so that's why when we run Facebook ads, I will have our copywriter generate a few ad copies, and we'll test a bunch of different ones. But I'll kind of get into ad copies a little bit more here in a moment. So we're at the campaign level. Now we're dropped down to the ad set level. Obviously, we want to focus on interactions on the ad. So this is important. We don't want to do messaging. We don't want them to send them to a website. We just want them to watch our video. So I'm going to choose on your ad. The engagement type is video views. And we're not going to change hardly anything there. Start date and end date, we're obviously, if you're managing your own campaign, you don't need to set an end date. We set end dates when we run ads for clients for specific reasons, but you guys don't need to set an end date. As far as your audience is concerned, so here's an important setting. Hopefully, if anybody's taking notes or you guys want to learn this, make sure that you choose people living in this location. This is really important for all the folks that have businesses down in Florida or any destination location, because if you don't have this checked, you're going to be serving ads to people who don't even live in your area. They could be traveling through on the interstate, they could be there visiting family, they could be there on vacation, and so you want to make sure that you're only serving these ads, obviously, to people who live in the location in which you're servicing. And so I'm going to come down here and I'm just going to type in Columbus because that's close to me. Columbus, Ohio. This should pop up. Okay, cool. And then we're going to do 25 miles. As far as age is concerned, this is pretty much the only parameter that I will set is the age, because obviously to a certain extent we already know that people under the age of 25 are likely not going to be interacting with our ad, and I like to choose 64 and not 65 plus. And the reason that I choose 64 is because if you go to 65 plus, what can happen is that your ad can start serving to a lot of older folks who maybe live in retirement homes and things like that. Facebook will see their high interaction rate and start serving that ad to more of those people. Now, there are probably people that are over the age of 64 that you guys have done work for or would do work for, but the whole point of this is that we want to make sure that we're maximizing our potential here, and we don't want to derail the campaign. So for that reason, I always choose 25 to 64 or some variation of that. Genders, obviously, men and women are equally just as interested in pressure washing. Detailed targeting, the only thing I will do for something like this is I will just type in home repair or some variation of it. And the only reason I'm just putting one is I would keep it ultra broad, but I have to be super careful, and I want Facebook to at least know that I'm trying to target people who have some general interest in home improvement, home repair, stuff like that. But I don't want to get too carried away with this because, again, the whole goal is to keep this very broad because we're going to target the people very specifically later. Reach people beyond your targeting selections. I always check that one, at least in the first step. Languages is also important, especially if you only speak one language. So I'm going to choose English, and then Advantage Plus placements. So I prefer always to do manual placements, and I always uncheck the audience network, the messenger, and I'll be a little bit more specific on Facebook and Instagram. This fluctuates depending on how I'm feeling for the day. So just to kind of give you guys an understanding, if you don't already know, the audience network is something almost all of you will always want to avoid. Excuse me. And the reason that you want to avoid this is because in audience network targeting, there are certain games and apps that people download on their phones. You guys have probably had this happen to you where it will force the user to watch a video ad. And if you have audience network targeted, that tends to be the cheapest placement of the ad, and so your ad will start serving to people that are forced to watch your ad. And for this, we obviously don't want people who are forced to. We want people who want to watch our video. I think this is one of the mistakes I made on my first round of ads. I set up a few interests, which probably screwed me. It's not going to be that big of a deal. If when you ran your first ad, if up in the interest section, if you added a couple of different things here, that's not going to completely derail your campaign. Like if I had to just make one ad campaign, I would layer a couple of other things in here, like, home renovation, HGTV, things like that. But for the sake of this specific strategy, I don't do that. So we'll go to manual placements. Obviously, we want to show up in the Facebook feed and the Instagram feed, but that's pretty much, for the most part, all that I'm going to serve to, as well as stories. So I keep the stories on. The reason that I turn off Instagram and Facebook Reels is that those tend to be more entertainment engagement, and so I always see that there's a fall off for video views when I'm running ads to those places. So we've selected those four: Facebook feed, Instagram stories, Facebook stories. So those, are the only places that our ad is going to serve. You'll typically pay a little bit more to only serve your ad in those areas, but those areas tend to be the best for engagement, so I always serve in those areas. And then obviously we want to make sure that we're optimizing for through play, because it's the feature that we're going to use here in a minute when we set up the second step of retargeting. Is everybody know? Nobody else has any questions? I feel like I'm moving kind of fast. I just want to make sure that I'm not going to lose anybody here. See something. Okay. If not, we're going to move on to what we're going to do here. So I don't know that I have a video handy. I should have probably grabbed one, but obviously if you're doing this, by now I hope you guys already understand that we're doing this in the Business Manager, which you have to do. You don't have to do this on a desktop. I don't think. I've never done it on mobile, but if you don't have a computer, go to a friend that has a computer. Go to the library. It's going to make your job a lot easier, but you're going to want the video that you're going to use to be saved on the computer. Are you going to show us an example of what a successful video looks like? I don't. I'm trying to think if I have one. I don't want to pull up any clients' ad accounts. Just because I never got anybody's permission. To give you advice on what the video should look like, it should not be promotional in nature, first and foremost. So this shouldn't be a video where there's a bunch of pop-ups, or it's you talking on the screen saying, going on right now, we're offering 20% off, or pressure washing starting at $99. You don't want this to be promotional. You want this to kind of be like time-lapsed, where you set up your phone, maybe you do a little bit of soft washing, do a little bit of roof washing, things like that, something that would be interesting for the homeowner to consume. And the reason that you don't want it to be promotional in nature is because the people we're serving this ad to already don't have a high interest, right? These aren't Google ads where people go looking for your service. And so if you make it promotional in nature, people are going to click off, even though they may be your customer that you could serve future ads to. I hope that makes sense, Morgan. Cody said, "Hey, Sean, thanks for the invite. I was putting the baby down, but I hope you didn't dive too deep in already." We haven't gotten that deep into it. And honestly, this is going to be put up on YouTube by tomorrow. So I think I have a link somewhere to my YouTube, but it'll be live there. Let me see if I have it handy. If I do, great. If I don't, you can just search my name on YouTube and I should come up. But no, we haven't gotten super deep into it. Basically what we're doing is we're creating a two-step strategy here. So we're running some video ads to a bunch of people, and then we're going to set up some retargeting to serve them ads later. So right here, we're creating the ad. Obviously, you want to make sure that the correct page is selected. And then once the correct, which for you guys, you won't have that many. Mine has tons. And then obviously we're serving ads on Instagram, so you'll need to make sure that you choose your Instagram account. If you don't choose your Instagram account, it won't serve ads there. Obviously, this is where we're going to add the video, and then this is where you're going to add your ad copy. Again, guys, this ad copy thing is like way bigger than you may think that it is. Like, this is probably one of the more critical elements of your ad, if not the most critical element. So I think I have an example of one. So here is an example of what I believe to be a very good ad copy. Just to give you an idea, again, up in the comments, I dropped a link to a Fiverr contractor who I used to use before I hired an in-house copywriter to write all of my clients' ad copies. But this is just kind of a general example of what your ad copy should look like, or some variation of it. Lots of emojis. One of the things that I like to include in my ad copy is I like to put the service area. So like if you live in, Cincinnati, or you live in Orlando or Houston, I like to add that here because it's usually going to catch people's attention. I'm going to try to show you why that does that. Let's see if I can get this to pull up. Let me see if it'll pull up on the feeds. So if you look on the far left of the screen, this is why this is so important. So this is what, on the far left, this is what people will see on the Facebook feed. So if they're scrolling, they're going to see, do you own a home near Providence, which is where this client is located at? And then it says, in as little as an hour, we can make, right? So that is enough to hopefully get them to engage in the ad and open it up, because there's a call to action in the city that they live in, and then obviously hopefully it's a compelling video, right? So to kind of give you an idea there, hopefully that helps you guys out. That's where you're going to put your ad copy in the primary text section, and then do not add a destination. That is where you would go if you really wanted to send people to a website. Again, that's not the goal of what we're doing here. We're just trying to maximize the amount of video views that we get, because we're going to retarget these people later. So we want the cheapest cost per through play. Then obviously add in all your stuff, and then you publish your ad. So that's pretty much it. That is the first step. Who was asking, Cody, this is kind of the strategy we're getting into. So we had the video, 30 to 60 seconds. We have general targeting, and now that ad is running, right? So we are now looking to get a certain amount of through plays. And once we have that certain amount of through plays, we're going to create an audience of people to retarget. I'm going to go ahead and delete this before I get too confused here. So the through play, so I have this example campaign that we just set up from one of my best friends who does like painting and gutter cleaning and stuff, but I thought it would be a good example, and he said we could use this as an example. So we're doing a very similar strategy here, and what I'm looking for him is currently he's paying 4 cents per through play. So he spent $65 to get 1,800 through plays. Now, my goal here is I'm waiting for this to hit right around 3,000. So once there are 3,000 through plays on this video, that's when I will launch the second step to this, right? So that's where this blue graphic down here comes into play, right? The second set of these ads for retargeting, because we need to have a big enough audience to retarget, right? So assuming that you've done everything up to this point, you've created the video, you have the ad copy, it's getting views. Once this number here hits roughly 3,000, keep this ad running. Always keep this ad running as long as you're running Facebook ads, because you want to accumulate more video views. From there, you're going to create a audience. So if you come up to the 3 lines on the left-hand side, you can go down to audiences. So this is probably something most people haven't dove into. So it looks like I've already created the audiences, but I'll just create them again so that you guys can see. And again, stop me if you guys have any questions. I want to make sure that you guys get this stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a custom audience, and we're going to create an audience of people who have watched our video, or a large portion of our video. So I'm going to choose video. I'm going to hit next, and then I'm going to choose through play. So through play, remember that's the number that we're looking for. People who have either completed or viewed at least 15 seconds of your video. And again, this is important because the only people who would fall into this category are people who are going to be your customers because they watched a large portion of their video and they weren't forced to. So then you're going to go in here and you're going to choose your video. So for the sake of all of this stuff here, we're going to go to that video that we just created, and boom, choose that, confirm. So now we have our video. This one said it had 5,000 through plays. As far as retention is concerned, for the sake of argument for you guys, keep this at 365 days. You could change this number, but basically the retention is anybody who has watched this video in the last 365 days. Most of you aren't operating with super large budgets, so this is fine, because honestly, if they've watched it once, who cares if it was a year ago? You're going to want to serve them ads over and over and over again anyways. And then we're just going to name this. So I'm going to name this gutter training video ad, right? So step 1 is done. We have just created an audience of people who have watched a large majority of our video, right? So now we need to, the other step that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a lookalike audience. So the lookalike audience is basically telling Facebook like, hey, here are all these people that have watched my video. Help me find other people who look like those people, right? So I can go up here and I can click on this video, I think, or how do I do it? Custom audience. I can create lookalike audience. So I'm going to create a lookalike audience, and then I'm going to choose the audience that I just made. Why is this not letting me do this? Lookalike audience. Create a new source. Oh, it's going to really make me go through there. Okay, hold on a second. I think I can just open this up. So if I click on the video, actions, create a lookalike. Okay, so I'm going to bring that back one more time. So if you click on the actual audience that you just made, go to actions, create a lookalike audience. And then we want to, it's going to make me go through all of this, isn't it? Why is this making me do this like this? I wonder if it's because there's already an audience in place. Because I already have this lookalike audience here, so I wonder if that's why it's not letting me do that. Create lookalike source. It's gonna pull up all of this. Lord have mercy. All right, now this is gonna drive me crazy. This should be auto-populating. Sorry, guys. Classic Facebook making changes. I literally just did this earlier today. Okay, well, I'm not going to hang it up too much. If you end up doing this and you have problems creating your lookalike audience, shoot me a message and I will actually help you do this, because I think it's just bugging out, because as you can see, I just made these two audiences like the other day. So anyways, the whole goal here was we wanted to create the audience of people who have watched our video, and then we wanted to create a group of people who look like those people. So once we have our two audiences, now we're going to run two ad sets. So the thing I probably should have mentioned earlier is on the very first ad where we're optimizing for video views, I like to run with about a $10 to $15 a day budget initially, so that we can hit this 3,000 through play number pretty quickly. That way you're not running this ad for like a week and a half and you're still not getting any messages. So the more money you throw at this in the beginning and you can hit that 3,000 number, the quicker you can launch your secondary campaigns. So now that we have our audiences, it's time to create the one that ideally will actually deliver you some leads. So we're going to create a new campaign. We're still going to optimize for engagement, but this time we're going to choose a different engagement. So instead of video views, we're going to be choosing messages. So there's nothing that you have to do on this first page. I recommend not using the advanced campaign budget for this specific strategy, so just turn it off. So it should look just like this. I mean, obviously you want to name your campaign. I won't for the sake of this. And then you want to go to the ad set level. So this is important. So the conversion location, we want this to take place on messaging apps, specifically Facebook Messenger. So that's already selected, and that's great. As far as what we want it to say, we just want it to say click to message. You could choose sponsor to message. I've tested them both. Click to message always works a lot better. And then we want, obviously, the message to take place on Facebook. So even if you're serving your ads on Instagram or any other platform, if they hit the message button, it's going to open Facebook and they're going to end up in an interaction with you. Obviously, make sure that you choose the appropriate page that you're running ads to. Hopefully, you won't have 500 different pages like I do. And then you want to set your ad budget. So here is what I typically do. So if I'm doing this, because you have to remember, we're going to be creating two different ad sets here. I hope I don't lose you guys. We're going to be creating an ad set where the targeting, we're just going to be serving a bunch of ads to people who have actually watched our previous video. And then we're going to create another ad set for people who look like those people. So we're basically going to have three ad sets running. One that's constantly serving that original video, one that's retargeting those people, and then one that's targeting people who look like those people, right? So if you're spending $15 a day on this one, $15 a day on the lookalike, and let's call it $10 a day on the very first video, you're spending $45 a day, or right, $40 a day. And obviously you can adjust the first number, the video views. You always want to keep that running, but you can change that or lower that number by a little bit. So we're going to be running this with $15 a day. And then this is where we're going to choose our audience, right? So the audience that the audience we just created, if I click in this box here, you will see that those audiences that we've created are now here. So there's the Gutter Cleaning 365, which is a direct retarget of people who've watched our video, and then there's the lookalike. So for this, I'm going to choose the direct retarget. Usually in the name, I would put, direct retarget. That way I keep them, I keep them organized. Let's scroll down here, and then Advantage Custom Placement. This is where I would keep your placements pretty open, with the exception of the Audience Network, because again, I don't want to serve my ads to people in the Audience Network. So that's the only place I'm going to not serve my ads to for this one. So this is really important because they've already seen our first video, and so it doesn't really matter where they see our remaining ads. They're already somewhat brand familiar, so they're not going to be forced to watch any kind of video, if that makes any sense at all. I hope it does. If you have questions, let me know. So we're going to serve this on Facebook, Instagram, and Messenger. I will make some minor adjustments. Again, guys, don't get too caught up in this specific settings. This is not the end-all, be-all. You could serve this to every single one of these, and it really wouldn't make that massive impact to your campaign. But let's see. I'm going to keep this on. I'm going to keep it on Explore. I'm going to keep it on Stories, Messenger Stories, Instagram Reels. I'm keeping it in there. I'm going to turn it off for in-stream. I'm going to turn it off for search. I'm going to turn it off for in-article. So that's where I'm going to serve the second series of ads. And then if we scroll down, we're going to go to the next. And then this is where this gets more interesting. So what we want to do here is we're going to create, for the sake of the argument of this ad here, where is it at? Strategy 1. So for the sake of this, as you can see in this, I would typically run 3 different images, or 2 images in a video, or 2 images in a graphic, or a graphic and image in a video. And so, this is important because you want to test your creatives, because if you just use one image or one video or one graphic, your cost per message could be $25 a message, but like if you would have used a video, or if you would have tested a different image, it could be $15. And that's another big key point about this. And for those people who are just now tuning into this live, that's something that I talked about earlier, is Facebook ads is not one of those things that you just set it and forget it. You're constantly going to want to make and edit changes. And you're going to want to test different variables, test different audiences, test different, creatives, all that good stuff. So then I would, obviously I would go through here and I would start adding all of my images, right? So what you can do, and I'm actually going to bounce over, I'm not going to lose you guys here, I promise. So I'm going to bounce over to another campaign really quickly to give you guys an example of, let's go to this one really quickly. Is this a good example? Let me see. Yeah, okay, cool. So, and this is somebody we just launched a Christmas light installation campaign for. So obviously the messages look really great. They're $7 a message. So don't pay attention to the numbers. This is for Christmas lights. But what you do is you set up, you obviously have that ad set, and then under that direct ad set, you have, like in this case, we have 2 images, right? So, again, I'm going to reference this image. If we look down here at the bottom, if we look at the one on the left, let's assume that was our direct retarget. Under that, we're going to create 3 separate ads, one that's an image, another one that might be an image, another one that might be a video. And then on the second ad set, that's going to be the lookalike. We're going to have, another image, and another graphic, or another video. I hope all of this makes sense, because I feel like I almost lost myself here. But that's pretty much the strategy in a nutshell. Like, that's it. Like, we're just retargeting people who have watched our video, and we're serving ads to a lookalike audience. Now, generally speaking, the lookalike audience won't perform as good as the people who actually watched our video. That tends to be the case, but I always want to test that anyways, right? So in theory, you don't have to go through that test, but I like to, because there are some times where that does happen. So I hope all of this made sense. I'm going to see if I can't try to make this a little cleaner. So if we look at the sake of arguments of the ads that we're currently running, at the campaign level, I'm going to kind of recap this. Would you use the same 3 images or videos for both ad sets? Yeah, probably, because especially at first, because I want to test it, because right there, right, when we look at this graphic, we're testing the audiences, right? We're seeing, does the lookalike audience, does it give us cheaper cost per messages than the direct retarget audience, right? And then after a week or 2 weeks, there's going to be a definitive winner. The lookalike could get you messages at $15 and the direct retarget could get you messages at $10. So then you just shut off the other campaign, move the budget into the winning ad campaign, and then all of a sudden now you have a super winning ad campaign, and then you can start testing those other variables like your images. So yes, for the sake of this, because I wasn't getting that in depth into it, I would use the same creatives. So if in the lookalike campaign we're running a before and after of a vinyl house wash, a before and after of a roof wash, and then maybe a roof washing video, I would use the exact same creatives in the other campaign as well, right? Because if you use different images and graphics, it may give you a skewed. You may not get to see which one of those ad sets, lookalike or direct retarget, perform better. Also, would it make sense to spend, let's say, $20 a day on the direct retarget? And no, I would not do that. And the reason I wouldn't do that is if, let's say, it absolutely was not in your budget, whatever the case may be, match those budgets, because otherwise you're not going to get an accurate response as far as the data, is because the more money you give Facebook, the better your results are. So if you spent $20 on one ad set and $10 a day on the other ad set, it's very, very likely that $20 a day on that one ad set's going to perform, even though it may be the worst of the two. You're just giving them more money, so you're going to get a better cost per message, which is kind of a general rule of thumb anyway, is the more money that you spend with Facebook, generally speaking, the better that the campaign goes, which is why, in this particular example, after running both of these ad sets for a week or two, you find the clear definitive winner and you shut off the bad one and then double or triple your budget on the winning one. And so let's say you're getting cost per messages at $15 on one of your campaigns. When you shut that over or shut the other one off and you move your budget over, and you triple or you double or triple that budget, you may cut that cost in half. So that's actually a really great question. I'm glad that you answered that. Another tip with Facebook ads, for those of you that might not be aware that could have screwed up your campaigns in the past, is anytime you make an edit to your Facebook ad campaign, you reset the learning phase, which is an important phase. So when you launch any Facebook ad, for the first, call it 2 to 3 days, there's a learning phase, and you're still spending money, but it may not be serving your ads to the people that it should be. And Facebook's in the process of trying to figure out who they should be serving their ads to. And so let's say you realize that you made a spelling error in your ad copy. If you log back in and fix that spelling error and publish that ad, it resets that. So then that's 3 or 4 days relatively that you lost in ad spend. So that's a really important tip, is that you never want to make those changes. What you want to do instead, right, is let's say I realize I made a huge critical error. What I would likely do is I would just click on the ad set that I made the error in and click the duplicate button and then just duplicate it. That way we don't reset everything. I hope that kind of makes sense. But for the most part, that's pretty much the strategy. And again, guys, this strategy is not the end all be all. This isn't a strategy that, I expect you guys to be able to just implement tomorrow, and in 3 weeks, every single person that implements this say, Sean, I get messages at $10 a day now, because it still takes testing. Like I said, generally, I'm on average, we probably set up 10 Facebook ad accounts a month. And most of them we launch with this strategy if we have all of the assets we need. And probably by the end of the month, 5 to 6 of those 10, we've changed what we're doing, because it may not or may be working, right? And so that's super important, is that, like, you're always going to be wanting to test everything. Once you have that winning audience, let's say it's the lookalike audience, cool, narrow down on that and then introduce 3 or 4 more, ads, right? Or images, right? So like maybe some more before and afters of concrete. Try introducing new ad copies. Like, go to that place, I dropped the link in the comments. Order some more ad copies. introduce those, because I've even seen that happen where we've run ads and we've gotten cost per messages down to like $11, $12, and then we've duplicated the ad set like 2 or 3 times and put in new ad copies, and one of the new ad copies cut that in half, and the client started getting messages at like $7, right? And so that's why that like one and done. There's a few people in the industry where like you can pay them like $250 and they will just like go in and like create a campaign and then walk away. The problem is that there is almost never a strategy where you can do that and walk away, which is why you constantly have to be on top of it. Which is why this works for guys who, you know, aren't doing a whole lot of work, right? They're able to trade their time instead of their money to be able to learn this stuff and do this stuff. And then obviously when you get to a certain point where you start to get too busy, you hire somebody to come in and do it for you because, you know, you don't have the time to do it, right? So that's kind of the synopsis, in my opinion, from Facebook ads. But that's pretty much it, guys. Like that's this is the strategy that I use. You just got Jay missed it. It's cool. Hey, so this is gonna when this ends, it's not going to be available on the group, but it's going to be on my YouTube probably tomorrow morning. So if you search my name on YouTube, this will come. Like my channel should come up, and this video will be live there. This isn't going away. It's going off of Facebook, but then I'm re-uploading it to YouTube. Man, that sucks. I tried to do my due diligence and trying to get this out to people. I cold messaged a bunch of people and said, hey, I've made tons of videos. I ran Facebook ads. I tried to get this out to as many people. Like I wasn't trying to like hide this from anybody. I really wanted to get this out to as many people as possible because I know there's a lot of people out there that are struggling with running their own ads. And, you know, at the end of the day, while I obviously make money from running people's Facebook ads, there are going to be people who can't afford it. And for them, I don't want to see them wasting their money not having at least some general strategy on what they should be doing with Facebook ads. I'll try ads with you in the spring. It's already dropping to the 20s here. Yeah, man, that sucks. Yeah, that super sucks. I have a lot of clients who we were running Facebook and Google ads for that are in the north that we've started shutting stuff off. Some of them, they're doing Christmas lights. And honestly, since we're on the topic of that, this campaign we just launched, let me see, dude, it's crushing. If you're not doing Christmas lights, you might want to look away. But so this has been running since October 7th, so for 10 days, and it has already delivered 40 messages at a cost per message of $7. And as you guys are already well aware, Christmas light installation is such an expensive service. So like they're making a killing because I think the average ticket's like $700-800 to install Christmas lights. So Christmas light ads have been smashing this year, much better than pressure washing ads. I'll say that. Like it takes a lot more work for us to get our pressure washing ads to work properly. But for Christmas light installation, it doesn't take us hardly any time at all to get the Facebook ads working. And honestly, if you guys are doing Christmas light or installations, if you guys use the strategy that I was teaching you guys today, that is the strategy we've been using with a lot of our Christmas light installation companies. I tried Christmas lights for 3 days and nope, can't do ladders and roofs. Wait, how do you wash roofs? You do them from the ground? Like, do you have a gas soft wash system, or do you just downstream at 3 stories? Now I'm interested. You don't do ladders? I don't do ladders, but I also don't pressure wash, obviously. I really like doing this training. I really hope that you guys got something out of this. I think I might do one of these for Google Ads, and I want to try to do some more in-depth stuff with like email marketing and stuff. There's so much stuff that a lot of people could be doing that we do for a lot of people that I could show people how to do. But this just came up because I've just seen a lot of people's ads recently, and they have not been good, and I was like, we got to put something out. But if you guys don't have any other questions, that's pretty much all I have for the sake of this training or strategy, if you will. Like I just told Jay, this is going to be live on YouTube tomorrow. So make sure that you grab it and watch the full thing through and take it through at your own pace if you didn't get to catch the full live. I don't have gas. I can do a one story from the gutter lines, but stuff I'm not comfortable with. I have my buddies or my brother come out to do my roofs. That's funny. But you pay them well. That's good. I've been running ads all year, converted some jobs, but definitely need to fine tune the audience and verbiage. Yeah, for sure. Cody, like, and you know, it could even be your verbiage. I dropped that link up in the comments earlier. Go check them out for ordering your ad copy. Like, that could be a huge determining factor, whether or not your ads are performing And it's honestly like don't skimp out on that. Anybody who's watching this, don't skimp out on the ad copy. Hire a professional to write your ad copy because it really makes a world of a difference. I plan to do an air system in the spring and ditch the 12 volt. Yeah, for sure. I've done a little bit of pressure washing in my life, and the 12 volt definitely sucks. Great info. Thanks for coming, Carlos. Hopefully you got something out of it. If you guys have any questions about this stuff, feel free to shoot me a message. I'm always open, and you guys can always pick my brain whenever you guys want. So unless anybody else has anything else, that's pretty much the end of it. So thanks, guys, for checking it out. I hope you guys learned something. And I'm gonna stay pretty active in the group. Like I said, we might do something with Google Ads very soon. I'm gonna try to do more of these trainings and try to get some more stuff out to you guys. But you guys have a good rest of your night, and I will talk to you guys soon. Take it easy.